Coming up today on David Vs Goliath, hesitancy is the death of an entrepreneur.
Being an entrepreneur means waking up early and getting kicked in the face until it's time to go to bed.
Don't come with a hatchet, come with like a peace pipe.
Welcome to today's episode of David Vs Goliath, a podcast dedicated to helping small businesses leverage technology to not only help them compete against their large competitors, but win. Your host is currently the CEO of Anthem Business Software, a three-time Inc. 500 recipient, and a serial entrepreneur with a passion to help small businesses everywhere find, serve, and keep more customers profitably. Please join me in welcoming your host, Adam DeGraide.
Hey everyone, it's Adam DeGraide with another amazing edition of David Vs Goliath. We are so glad to have you watching and listening. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. We're having a great time. Today we have Matt Gerchow from Steady Content, a high-paced, fast-growth tech company. You're going to learn a lot today about content and how valuable it is on the internet. But before we get into that, I want to thank our corporate sponsor, Anthem Software, where you can find, serve, and keep more customers profitably with their all-in-one software, marketing, and consulting platform to help small businesses grow. You can take a 120-second tour at anthemsoftware.com. Also, visit us today on David Vs Goliath Podcast.com. There you can subscribe to actually watch the podcast and get emails about it. And then also you can apply to be on the podcast. We're getting a lot more applications right now. We're excited about it. These guests are going to be fantastic. You don't want to miss an episode of David Vs Goliath. Well, with all the housekeeping out of the way, let's get right to it. Matt Gerchow from Steady Content. Welcome to David Vs Goliath.
Thanks, man.
So glad to have you.
Glad to be on here with you. I've heard so many good things about the podcast.
Yeah, podcast is going great. We're having a lot of fun, getting new subscribers every single day, trying to inspire, educate, and activate small businesses all over the world. And it's, my goal is 5 years from now, Matt, this is the biggest business podcast in the world. That's my goal. Wow. And I'm not going to quit until I do it. I'm going to keep trying to put out great content that's a little entertaining. And I think at the end of the day, people are enjoying it and liking it. So Matt, it's great to see you. And I was reading the sheet, the pre-show sheet, as they say. You and I have so many things that are similar, and I don't want to spoil your thunder because I'm going to let you bring them up, and I'm going to say, I got that T-shirt too. It's a fascinating story with Matt. But Matt, Steady Content is awesome. As you know, content has become king on the internet. You and I know this, and right. The production of content is very difficult. But before you tell people what Steady Content does, tell them how you started in business all the way back. You gave me this bullet point list, and I thought it was very interesting, and I think our listeners will find it fascinating. You've been everywhere, so go ahead. Go for it.
So I got started, I grew up in Seattle and was part of the whole internet craze there. As soon as the internet became a thing, I wanted on board. And I started my first business online in 1997. Kind of a couple years after the internet started.
Me too, by the way. My very first bit. There's one of the things in common. 1997, BZ Productions, basement of my house, Rhode Island. Yeah. Boom. So you keep going.
Yeah, I was actually in the basement of my parents' house on that one. I moved back home at 26, so I'd have the extra $650 a month to put into the company. And awesome. And I had been in computer hardware and selling computers to Microsoft and around that whole world. So it was kind of the technical side of things I was pretty familiar with. And that was a loan company. And it was kind of interesting. We got going and we were really successful with it. But then things switched to only the refinances went away, and then it became only new construction loans. So it wasn't quite as easy to go. It was interesting. I was at the bank getting kind of shutting down the business and pressing charges against my business partner because he'd taken the last of the money from the account. And I get a call from some friends at Microsoft, or one friend in particular, who says, hey, that project that we're working on out in New York that I wanted to bring you in on around Christmas time, I'm ready for you now if you can come now. And this was like August. So 6 days later, I'm in a penthouse on Wall Street and getting the whole process started there.
That's amazing, because if you think about it, like, so, you're going through a difficult challenge. You started your business. It was going well. Next thing you know, it's not going so great. Your partner stole from you. You're probably thinking to yourself, man, the world's coming to an end. All of a sudden, a new, as they say, one door closes, a new one opens. And here you are in Wall Street. Keep going.
Yeah. So we had a company there. We were partnered with pets.com. And just saying that, most people that have been around the internet a long time know that was kind of the calamity of the .coms. They were the first one that went public, and people were like, I don't get it. I don't get how you send a 50-pound bag of dog food. This is before Amazon Prime, but I don't get how you send a 50-pound bag of dog food out and don't lose money on it. And right?
Listen, and by the way, you can understand it back then. How would they have even, they couldn't even envision that 99% of our stuff now we get shipped to our front door, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I did that for a while, and it was fun. And then when the company started to go away, I was recruited by the owners of that company to come down to Florida and open restaurants for Raquel Welch and her husband called Richie's Neighborhood Pizzeria. And I did that with Adam DeGraide, Adam Bernhard. And Adam Bernhard is of Outlook fame, which he sold to Nordstrom's for $200 million.
Yeah,
and so it's it was a fun time. We were flying around in private jets and doing these celebrity opens and having a blast. And then we had 9/11 happen. And when 9/11 happened, there was no more restaurants. We had Malloween. So we were opening up restaurants in all of the different shopping malls, the new Taubman malls across the country. And when 9/11 happened, we had 5 of 9 restaurants opened, and that was it. So I got the axe there, and I'd been being in Florida at the time, I'd been looking into real estate developing and real estate kind of house flipping and whatnot, like everybody else did at that time. This is now 2001, 2002. And so I got involved. A friend of mine that I had met through the building where I was at. So when they brought me down to Florida, they gave me a company car, company apartment, just luxury all the way around for the Aventura area. You're probably familiar with it. And I met somebody that had the penthouse in my building. They had a $1 billion company in Colombia, and we started flipping houses together. And that was absolute blast. Made a lot of money at it. Did it as long as possible. And then we had the 2007 fallout of the of the real estate market, which really caused a lot of people to rethink their lives. It was interesting. I had friends that were hedge fund managers on Wall Street that now were back in like chef school and deciding to just go completely different routes.
My first, one of my first partners in my second business, Tim Sawyer, he actually did the exact same thing before he joined me at Astonish. Him and his buddy Tom Kuchar, they were fixing up houses, flipping them, buying a house, fixing it up, flipping them. Same thing. And he comes from a mortgage background as well, too. And so he went through that as well, too. And this goes to show you, watchers and listeners, by the way, the journey to a successful place is never a straight line, right? It's always jagged all over the place.
Over the place.
And don't begrudge anything you've ever done. I used to stock dairy shelves, man, at IGA Supermarket. And those are some of and thank God I did, by the way, because it shaped me for who I am. Yeah, IGA.
I used to skateboard behind an IGA as a kid.
Yeah, we're too old, I think, Matt. You and I, yes, we're dating ourselves. But, obviously, Colombia, it says you went to Thailand.
Yeah, so, let's get to Colombia. So I was living in Miami, and I'm really, I'm doing houses in the hood. And I'm spending my whole day there, whether it's looking at comps or overseeing my crews on different renovations and whatnot. And at some point, so I have a penthouse in Miami, but I'm like, at some point, if I spend my whole day in the hood, it's like, that's my life. So 6 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Colombia, and I'm down there, and it felt so awesome to just I felt like my problems were on the moon. they were so far away, or I was on the moon and my problems were on Earth because I'm down there, my phone doesn't work or it doesn't work correctly. Every call comes in as unknown, so you don't answer any of them. And I had a problem. I had problems with properties and whatnot back in Miami, but it just felt so peaceful to be there and to be away from it all. So it gave me that kind of break to work on another .com business. And I cranked away at it, got it done, got it sold. And as you saw in the thing, I sold it, got the first wire like 4 hours before our son was born. And then we went from there to Thailand.
It's amazing. And then to fast forward for the listeners and watchers, you went from Thailand to Sarasota, then you moved to Mexico, then you moved to Austin. Is that where you reside right now? Are you in Austin?
Yeah, we're just north of Austin in a city called Round Rock.
Okay, cool. And then you started Steady Content in 2016. And I've worked with Steady Content. You guys have done great stuff in the past. For the listeners who are listening, tell them a little bit about what Steady Content does in 30 seconds. How would you describe it?
Sure. Well, Steady Content is the best way to explain it would be we do managed blogging. And that means that we take things from start to finish. We do the keyword research, the title creation, the content creation, posting to the sites, and dashboard management. And we tie it all together and we do it all. We've spent 5 years just building little tools and ways to automate that so that it's all flawless. And it sounds like it's simple, but I can tell you 2 million lines of code later, it's not.
No, I can imagine. I mean, I've done content and SEO for years. And, when Google did their algorithm change years ago, and you could no longer just stuff a bunch of nonsense words in,
right.
Really intelligent content became really important and is still vital today in a business. If you don't have a lot of long-form content that is frequently put out on your website or anything you're trying to promote, you're not going to get very far on organic search. So when somebody listening to this, you created software to help you deploy this, right? And reading what you wrote, there's like a 28-step process in doing this as well, too, which I found fascinating. Tell us a little bit about that.
So every piece of content that comes in the door has to go from pre-order stage to order stage to ordered to writing to editing. And then after that, it goes through a couple of quality checks. And then it's either published or it comes back from the client as a revision. Then there's like 4 different revision statuses. It can be in one of 28 statuses at any time, with the initial order being one, and there's 4 different types of delivery status.
And people don't realize this, man. Like when you think about the massive amounts of content on the internet, to get heard in your market, you have to be a leader and an expert on these things. Absolutely. So it's no longer good enough to just write 1 or 2 blogs a year and think that that's going to work, or build a website, have a bunch of permanent pages that just sit there and no new fresh content. Content's king, right? And so Steady Content, I loved your name because it basically says what you're trying to do. You provide steady, high quality content that is unique and original, that can be searched on Google, Yahoo, Bing, any search engine, to produce a result to help people drive traffic organically. By the way, I don't know if you need any salespeople. I'm looking for a job.
Yeah, sounds great, man.
But this stuff is critical, man. And most small businesses don't get it. And they get frustrated, or they complain about every little last blog. I mean, I know this. I've worked with thousands of businesses on the internet. And man, you can always tell a client when they're going to be too persnickety, and they hurt themselves. Because if you think every piece of content in the world is going to be perfect for your business, you're crazy. And not only that, ESPN has typos. Wall Street Journal has typos. Your content, you have to have a content factor. You're going to have challenges, right? How do you try to minimize that at Steady Content?
Well, so we go through 2 rounds of editing, and you're always able to do revisions. But like you said, there's people that feel that everything is going to get read by everybody and scrutinized, and because they're a doctor or because they are a lawyer, that it has to be absolutely perfect. And it's like, well, before you started working with us, you made your last post 7 months ago.
Yeah, or 7 years ago.
Right after you started working with us, we have 1 post every week for the last 3 months, and you're worried about these 4 words being out of place. So that's, it's just a matter of, and sometimes people discontinue, and sometimes people come back, and sometimes people just keep going. But what I like to think we do, go ahead.
No, the best clients that I've ever worked with are the ones that just say, hey, listen, you guys are the experts. I trust you. Just, if you miss the mark, we tell them, hey, listen, we're going to miss the mark. It happens all the time. But when you miss the mark, don't come with a hatchet. Come with like a peace pipe. Oh, we smoke a peace pipe, Hey,
peace pipe is good.
Peace pipe is good, right? Because, as they say, bad attitudes. You don't want to come to a bad attitude to your vendor, especially the one who's trying to get you ranked on Google, for goodness sake.
Exactly.
Be nice to these people. Of course, I'm saying this self-indulgently for myself, Matt, because I do this for a living as well too. It is amazing though how much content is needed. But Matt, we're going to take a quick break from Anthem Software, but when we come back, I do want to talk about the 5 smooth stones quickly in your business, which are goals, as you know, goals with plans, people, technology, process, and courage. We'll be right back. Here's a message from Anthem Software.
Anthem Business Software System is designed to specifically help small businesses just like yours find, serve, and keep more customers profitably. We do this by providing you with the most powerful software, automations, and marketing services to help your business compete and win in this ever-changing digital world. Take a short video tour at anthemsoftware.com.
Anthem Software, every business has a song. Let our software sing yours.
And we're back with Matt Gerchow from Steady Content.
Hey.
Matt, I heard a little birdie told me that when you get stuck in traffic, you have a slight case of road rage. Is this true?
I don't know if you'd call it road rage. I just don't do it. Every once in a while, I find myself on the road and it's like I didn't pay attention. We're all kind of working from home now. And or at least in our world, we are, right? And you'll find yourself on the freeway. And so I'll just pull off and get a drink somewhere, or pull off and hang out somewhere until it's all done again. I just don't do it.
Yeah, see, because if you stayed there, the Incredible Hulk would come out.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a Jeep now that's on 38-inch wheels and then it's got a 4.5-inch lift. So I'm above all the traffic, which does help. And when you kind of give someone the tire, that is a lot better than, being down low.
I don't think my AMG 55 would hold up to your next to your car. That's amazing.
When I'm out in the Ferrari, it's the exact opposite. Everybody else can give me the tire.
Exactly right. Well, let's get. Hey, speaking of, first of all, so listeners and watchers, think about it. He has a Ferrari. He's got a car with 38-inch, tires. This doesn't happen on accident, by the way. This is because you're a smart business person. Do you have any goals and plans for Steady Content? I'm sure you've listened to a few episodes. Talk a little bit about, the goals that you've set for Steady Content and how you have goals and plans.
So goals for Steady Content, I would like us to do a consistent 2.5 million words a month. And as far as SEO services go, we've just started a couple of other businesses. Agentserve.com is one, and that's going to cover the full breadth of SEO services. We offer backlinks through Steady Content, but now we're launching as betterbacklinks.com, and we'll be doing that there. And then we have a full breadth of SEO services coming on, as well as PPC management. We just really want to get on the phone with somebody and not have that excuse of, okay, we don't need content, right? Yeah. Whatever you're doing and it's online, we're doing it.
That's awesome, man. That's great. And so when you sit down and you think about these things, do you have any partners, or are you sole proprietor?
Sole proprietor. We've got a team of 9, and then right now about 650 writers.
That's great. Oh man, that's a ton of writers. Trying to manage 650 people, I couldn't even imagine that. That's
all systems. It's all systems. A lot of it's done electronically.
Yeah, it's got to be software. So you're dealing with. So that's basically your team. So of your 9 core people, what are some of the roles and functions that they operate in Steady Content?
Yeah, so I've got a full-time web designer, full-time customer service, full-time testing. I've got 2 web developers. I've got 2 editors, and myself, and then I've got 2 admins. I don't know if that's 9, but that's somewhere close to it.
Yeah, you got exactly. I think you're close enough. Yeah, you're close enough. So when you think about some of the tools you're using in your business, tell the listeners and watchers some of the tools that you use, not only for your clients, but for yourself.
So one of the things I didn't have on there, we use Stripe a lot. We use Stripe to pay the writers, and we are able to do that for all of our U.S. writers. We use Payoneer and PayPal for the international writers. We've developed against the API for all three of those companies. We use, I don't know if I want to share my cold outreach, but
you don't have to share things. Hey, first of all, just so you know, I do a lot of the things that you do, by the way, in my business. By the way, that just shows you the integrity of this podcast, David versus Goliath, because I'm not afraid to even talk to people that compete with me in some ways and work with me in some ways as well, too. But, to me, it's all the world is big enough for all of us, and people need to learn. So you are doing a cold call outreach program. You don't have to say who it is.
No, not cold call. We do a cold email outreach. We use a company called UMass for that. And but I have a full-time person on that. And we send out 2,700 emails a day. We'll be taking that up to 27,000 emails a day, probably within the next 3 months. And those generate the inbound, the inbound responses that we turn into calls. We use ActiveCampaign for contacting our clients and keeping in touch with them. We use Trello and GitHub to manage our development. And we use RingCentral for internal communications. I give that one a great recommendation because, where Slack is $25 a person and Flock and all these other ones out there, all add for every single person you put on there. I'm able to manage all of my writers in RingCentral for free.
It's awesome. I interviewed last week. I interviewed a guy named Ryan Shirzadi from Tech Revel, another great tech app building company, and they have 170 employees that he manages in 2 different countries and 3 different cities. And he had some cool software that he recommended as well too. We love having tips and advice for people. Remember, it's not just about education and inspiration. It's about activation. And activation gives my listeners, the business owners, an opportunity to say, I'm going to check that out. Because there's a lot of different solutions that are involved in making something successful. So your process that you're doing right now, we talked a little bit about that, but walk somebody through the life of a blog. So a small business who's listening right now, maybe they do it, maybe they don't. They want to order a blog from myself or someone like you. They order it. What happens? Well, almost like the assembly line. Exactly what happens in your business to make that a reality?
As someone comes in the door, we do the full campaign setup. That's where we're getting the tone of voice and the audience and the campaign keywords and all the writer instructions and the style guide and the writing brief. And, the more they give us at the beginning, the better the content's going to come out. And then from there, we send that over to one of our SEO experts and they do the keyword research. They will find national, international, and local keywords that have a good volume, usually 200 or more searches a month, and that have a decent competition that, one that we're going to be able to get in and rank on. So once the keywords are done, we send that over to title creation, and then title creation uses the people also ask. They also have a template series that they break off of, so they can do like the number of reasons or the top 10 or et cetera, and they put together usually 4x or 3x whatever the amount of content that's ordered into titles. So if you ordered 3 pieces of content, you'll get 10 titles, and then those get sent out for approval. And then you have like a thumbs up, thumbs down, or an edit button or a request revision button to where you can actually get the titles exactly how you want. And this, we did this by email as well as SMS. This in itself was just a monumental project, but as anyone knows, it's like, the title is like the seed for creating the content. So if you have the wrong seeds or the wrong foundation, then the content just grows from there, and it grows in all the wrong directions. So it's really important that the client gets to see that. From there, heads over to the writers, and the writers they write the content. We have special templates that we use for blog posts, web page, press release, etc. And they're able to build it out so it always has kind of a similar format to it.
That's great.
And then from there, we send the product out for delivery. So it can either be emailed, it can get pushed directly to the website. And we can do that either as a live article or we can do it as a draft. But then also the client can log in and do the approvals on the website as well. So it's pretty encompassing. And we're always adding and looking for ways that we're kind of needing to add more functionality. So like that's one of the places where Joe, your partner, helped us a lot was in, okay, we need this instead of that. And it's helped guide some of our development along the way. And so we're always open to that with the clients too.
That's all, guys, you just learned in the life of a blog. You know, you reminds me of the old Schoolhouse Rocks when we were kids, how a bill gets made. You just learned how the sausage was made with an internet blog. So Matt, hang on one second. We're going to take one more break from a great sponsor here on David Vs Goliath. We'll be right back.
At King 16, our agency has done some exciting things over the years. We've designed and built amazing experiences for customers and launched several vehicles for Audi and Porsche. We've thrown extravagant parties inside whiskey distilleries and featured amazing products for brands like Ray-Ban and Fossil. We booked some incredible talent and designed cutting-edge stages for those performances. We even threw a red carpet gala in the middle of nowhere on a horse farm with hundreds of celebrities, which was difficult. I guess you could say we've done some amazing things for our brands and partners. Now the only question is, what will King 16 do for you? Find out at king16.com. That's King, SIXTEEN.com.
And we're back with David Vs Goliath. I'm your host, Adam DeGraide. This is Matt Gerchow. And I love the name, by the way, Gerchow. And Joe was trying to tell me, Gerchow, baby. Chow down on Gerchow. It's great. Good thing you didn't name your company Gerchow Content. I don't think that wouldn't be quite the same. Yeah, Gerchow Media. So courage, man. You know, David Vs Goliath. I believe that the stone that David took out, flung it into Goliath's head, slayed that Goliath was courage. You know, you've had mild degrees of success in the beginning. Your road led you all over the world, literally. How did you have the courage to start Steady Content, and what gets you up every day and gets you excited?
So Steady Content came from two things. One, I was doing a bunch of affiliate marketing, and I just couldn't get anybody to do what we do, which is write, post, schedule, and repeat. I couldn't get anybody to write decent content. Everything I ordered from the text brokers and the other companies of the internet at any kind of decent price came back as crap.
That's another t-shirt. By the way, Matt, that's another t-shirt I have. We have two ordered content from those people. And you're right. They're piles of manure. But anyway, that's okay. I'm not trashing them, by the way. I'm sure they've made a lot of changes and have enhanced their product.
Yep. And the other was I was part of a business that needed to pivot, and I saw this as an opportunity. We had an affiliate that was working for us that was getting some really high conversions on content. And so I explored it. And I just found, you know, my kind of love is automation and being able to build things kind of from my mind. I call it money from the air, right? So it's like you have an idea and you get a developer and you guys work together to put something on the line online, connect a Stripe, and then it turns into money in the bank. And then you follow that principle of with volume comes efficiency, and with efficiency comes profit. And so then you learn to do it over and over again. You know, I set out to kind of do this for my affiliate sites, and then we had some bigger and bigger and bigger clients come on board. And next thing you know, we're doing, you know, thousands and thousands of pieces of content a month.
That is awesome, man. So you think about the courage, guys, it takes to start a business, dream it up, and then do it. I said in last week's episode, I said hesitancy is the death of an entrepreneur. Action is the life of an entrepreneur.
I like that.
And you have an interesting saying about entrepreneurialism. When I read it, you said it over the sheet. I loved it. It was one of the last lines on there. I don't want to steal it. Do you want to read it? Because I thought it was so well said.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's been said by several people, but I kind of have my version of it that says being an entrepreneur means waking up early and getting kicked in the face until it's time to go to bed. And I think it's important to talk about that, though, because, you know, we get on here and we're bubbly and happy and successful and whatnot. But I know, you know, at least for me, probably not you, Adam, ever, but I know there's days that I wake up and I don't want to work. I don't want to go forward. I just want to be under the covers and say, okay, I'll start again tomorrow.
I do not have that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're
I'm
being
dead
serious?
Like every day I get up, it's time to go to work. Let's do it. No, that doesn't mean sometimes I crawl out of bed like this. It's time to go to work, but
I at the same time, I get up at 5 a.m. and I jump into a freezing pool every morning. And that kind of kicks the shit out of anything that I'm thinking about not going forward in the day. And it's like, okay, you're awake, you're at this, time to do it. And then you go and you just crank all day. And it's that, you know, that saying, you got to feel the fear and do it anyway. You got to feel that anxiety of the day and just go anyway.
I love that, man. You know, and so we have a lot of entrepreneurs listen to the show. We have people that have great businesses, that have many businesses. We have that guy or gal right now getting ready to start a business, and they're locked in fear. What advice do you give them, Matt?
Massive productivity. So my thing right now is we're in kind of a stage where I'm growing again, and I'm contacting a lot of clients. I ordered a desktop clicker from Amazon this morning so that every time I make a contact or a reach out, I'll click that and I can keep track of how much production I'm doing in the day. But you've just got to figure out, okay, if I only have a limited time to work each day, how can I get the most productivity? Every time you get productivity, you're going to feel good about the business. But when you do something that's like, if you focus in on this logo for 3 hours or whatnot, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is going so slow, right? But if you hire someone on Fiverr for $10 to build the logo and you do that or give that to 10 different people and then you pick the best one, this was a $200 logo off a 48-hour logo. You let other people kind of take over some of those things and just productivity.
Yeah, I love that.
And more productivity.
I love that. You know, so here's Matt. He runs his own business, makes a ton of money, but he still wants to be productive. Has a little button on his desk. We used to have a bell we would ring every time we'd sell something. And I love that as well too. So any final thoughts though, you know, for someone who's discouraged right now?
For someone who's discouraged, boy, I would say, you know, spend time on your knees, talk to God. And I don't know how that fits with, you know, your audience or whatnot, but I pray every single day. My wife and I pray every day. You know, see how often you're cursing. I feel like the more you curse is like the further you are from your relationship with God. And people believe whatever. I've been in business with people that were my business partner and they were atheists and their life was falling apart. And on my end, life was great and I'm living in abundance. So most people would say, that's, you know, whatever, he's got these other issues going and whatnot. But I can't say enough about just having faith and trust God to carry you forward.
And on that note, by the way, prayer is important, by the way. I pray too, Matt. And I do also curse. I'm working on that myself as well too. Here's what I would say to you guys, listening to David versus Goliath. You got to trust something bigger than yourself to help you through the day. And business is not easy. Your partners can help you, but what better partner than the Almighty himself on your side? Hit your knees. That's Matt's advice. I love it. This is not a religious podcast, although I will tell you the last couple of interviewees, it's kind of turning into that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening. Matt, thank you for joining us today. And listeners,
it's
been great to have you. Listeners, tune in next week. You never know what you're going to learn. You never know what you're going to hear. I'm your host, Adam DeGraide. This is David versus Goliath podcast. Have a fantastic day.